And therefore what I'm saying to you based upon God's prophetic word, the United States is about to be struck unexpectedly by Islam and pushed over the financial brink. And it is going to begin the movement for Sunday legislation, at which point we will have reached the midnight cry. And at the midnight cry, if you and I do not have oil in our vessels, we will be lost for eternity. Because we're going to be held accountable with this light because we've sat and listened to it. Even if we choose to say, oh, this is a bunch of foolishness and walk away from it, I guarantee you will be held accountable for it. From my experience, and I think it's valid, even though we should not judge things by experience, but by thus saith the Lord, but from my experience, the Lord does not open up truths until He's about ready to accomplish that truth. The fact that He's putting an emphasis on an escalated role of Islam in the very near future should tell anyone that has an experience with God's prophetic word that it's time to be doing everything in agreement with the reality of what's about to take place. There's a quote that since we recognize this keeps coming into my mind. I've used it for years, but I never thought of it in this way before. And by the way, I'll tell you a brief story about it afterwards. She says, oh, that God's people had a sense of the impending destruction of thousands of cities almost totally given to idolatry. All right, so you tell me. If radical Islam had the ability to bring in, let's say, 5 nuclear suitcase bombs into the United States and set them off simultaneously, say, in Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles, and Chicago, and New York, and Dallas, would they do it? If that happened, what would happen to the economy of the United States? Okay, so I asked one time, I've always wondered about that quote, oh, that God's people had a sense of the impending destruction of thousands of cities almost fully given to idolatry. So I've often wondered, but I spoke it out loud in front of Marco Barrios. I said, are there really thousands of cities in the world? So he got on the web and, oh yeah, there's thousands and thousands of cities. I mean, there's more cities than I would have thought of that have over, 5 million people. There's thousands of cities. And she's saying the cities are about ready to be struck. Don't know that that's what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have an idea for a certainty. That Islam's about ready to strike the United States. And part of the certainty is based upon the fact that Millerite history is repeated to the very letter. And Miller understood these truths, but it wasn't until 1838, these truths of the first and second woe, wasn't until 1838 that Josiah Litch put this study into writing and published it, saying that in 1840, in August of 1840, the Ottoman Empire would come to an end, and the world laughed at them, ridiculed them. And then a couple weeks before the event, he put out another publication where he says it'll happen on August 11th, 1840. And when it came to pass, Sister White says, 50,000 infidels joined the movement. Okay, so this history is being repeated because we're saying in advance of this event that there's a prophecy of Islam that's going to be fulfilled. And those people that are opposing the prophetic message that we share, this will be their perfect opportunity to shout from the rooftops about how we went off into a delusion and into fanaticism. And this will broaden the distinction between the two classes in this movement. But when it happens, brothers and sisters, those poor souls are going to search from east to north and from sea to sea and find out that they shouldn't have chosen their own ways. They should have eaten the little book.